impact the people with biblical qualities of effective leadership and strategies for mobilizing and winning elections. He still shares the strategies with his members and the body of Christ and supports political aspirants in their visions by introducing them to influential leaders, giving strategies, moral and financial aids. He is a true patriot and a change agent who vocalizes the need for right moral values and enthronement of righteousness in the Nigerian political ecosystem. Reverend Esosa Ize-Iyamu, the presidential candidate of Better Nigeria Progressive Party.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Joining me to interface with Reverend David Esosa Ize-Iyamu are two of my professional colleagues. Emmanuel Gbeche is the editor, Abuja Inquirer, and he is also the chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, the FCT Council. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Join us is Philip Yam, political correspondent of the New Telegraph newspaper. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, welcome once again, Reverend Esosa Ize-Iyamu, who is the presidential candidate of the Better Nigeria Progressive Party, BNPP.
It's a great honor and pleasure to be here today.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So, what does the BNPP have to offer Nigerians that is different from what we have seen in about 20 years of democratic rule in Nigeria?
We are about to enter a very significant phase in our nation, Nigeria. What millions of Nigerians have long yearned for. Over the years, in the last 40 years, finally the appointed time for us to see the manifestation of that new Nigeria has finally come. By providence, the BNPP has been positioned as a platform for the emergence of a new team of leaders that the Lord has raised to bring about this Nigeria of our dreams, where all the major issues that have held back this nation and all those constituents, the cabals, the cartels, the syndicates, the mafias, and the magicians who have long held this nation and the people hostage, at this appointed time, we're about to see freedom for Nigeria. In the next 4 weeks, we're about to witness what we're reading currently in the media is completely different from what is going to play out. And so, there is good news for Nigeria. We're about to enter into a new season. The years of oppression, the years of mindless killings, and monumental levels of corruption, those years are finally over. And what is about to happen is beyond the power of man. Those who have held us hostage will be compelled to bow to the will of the people. The result of the election, we pray it holds on February 16th, because part of the strategy for rigging the election is to drain your political opponents of their finances. And one way to achieve that is to postpone the election at the last minute. They've done it before, and there are feelers that that could happen again. But if it holds, whenever the election holds, Nigerians are going to jubilate in all the 6 regions of Nigeria, because the will of the people will finally prevail, and a new Nigeria would emerge from this new season.
When you say with so much confidence that what is playing out in the media right now is going to be different from what will play out on February 16th, how do you mean? What do you mean?
It happened not too long ago in America. Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. And up to the very eve of the election, the perception that was projected to the local American public and international world was that Hillary was going to win. But there was a major change already going on in the minds of millions of Americans And they were waiting for the opportune time to express it. And when the elections came, they expressed themselves. And the victory of Trump was a big shocker, just as is about to happen in Nigeria. I'm fully confident that contrary to the projection of some sectors of the media, the candidates of the two major parties will be appreciated for putting up a good fight. But none of the two will be sworn in May 29th, 2019.
You come from Edo State. Edo State is in the south-south geopolitical zone of Nigeria. A region or a zone that has produced the immediate past president of Nigeria. How confident are you that Nigerians want to have another president from the south-south geopolitical zone?
Nigerian youths constitute 81% of the registered voters with the current INEC register released on January 7th by Professor Yakubu. By divine providence, I'm privileged to be the national leader of the youth wing of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, and we have 17 million young Nigerians in all 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. More than 90% of these 17 million have their PVCs, and they are weapons of change waiting to be used on the day of the presidential election to bet the new Nigeria. And so when I tell you that a change is about to happen, I have reasons for saying what I'm saying. And if we were to go to some other dimensions, you would also understand that for now, Nigerians want a clean break from the old order. We want a clean break. There is no difference between the two major parties. Those who were there on one side are there on the other side today. Their policies, their errors, their mistakes, and their skills and expertise, especially in the art of corruption, is similar. So Nigerians are yearning for a complete break from the oppressive rule of this team of politicians who are all domiciled on these two platforms. The season of change has come, and the new dawn is about to play out in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I say this with all confidence, and mark my words, there will be jubilation all over Nigeria when this happens very soon.
Well, you are talking about change. We had a change in 2015. Now, you are promising Nigerians another change just about 4 years after that. Today, anywhere you go, the message is hunger. In fact, statistics have shown that about 86.9 million Nigerians are living in extreme poverty. Do you have a blueprint on how to tackle this extreme poverty in our country, and how long will it take you to put smiles on the faces of Nigerians if you are elected president by February 16th?
The hardship going on in the country today is a self-inflicted pain. And those responsible for it are those, unfortunately, in positions of leadership, in governance, especially at the federal level. Nigerians voted for change in 2015. Unfortunately, the last 3 years has been an unprecedented experience of hardship, of hunger, and mindless killings. But we have good news. On the platform of the Better Nigeria Progressive Party, the BNPP, we have formulated a 10-point agenda. And sometimes we find it difficult to try to project a few of them, you know, because they are interwoven in terms of expression and the benefits it will bring to all sectors of Nigeria. First is economic prosperity, and we have clearly broken it down to 15 different areas. And I want to say this, we are barely 3 weeks to the election. I am the only presidential candidate who, in his economic blueprint for Nigeria, has a plan for Lagos State specifically. According to the plan we have and the research we've done, when we give Lagos the support that we intend to give within the next 4 years, and in addition to what will be happening in other sectors within our economic master plan, within 2 years from now, the hardship, the hunger that is so prevalent in the country, even in the northwest of the country, where the incumbent comes from, those things would have dramatically changed for good. The relocation of our Nigerian youths, which has risen to incredible heights in the last few years, would drastically reduce, because suddenly Nigerian youths will discover that things are changing in the country. There's power supply, security is better, and the economy is now more friendly for young entrepreneurs to prosper and to strive.
Yes, please, can you give us clarity as to what you will be doing with Lagos State and how you intend to boost economic growth? Because you're speaking in general terms.
Yeah.
Yes, can we know what exactly you'll be doing that will permeate to other parts of the country and bring about this prosperity?
In Lagos, for instance, there are 3 major areas: transportation, power, and housing. I've lived in Lagos now for the past 25 years. I appreciate the existence of a master plan, but I also appreciate some of the challenges in Lagos, and I also appreciate that there is also a ray of hope that there's going to be a change at the federal level. There's overwhelming signs. There are overwhelming signs that there's also going to be a change after the presidential election in Lagos State. Now, talking about what we have in mind. First, we'll be giving support to Lagos in the area of transportation. One of the biggest challenges they have in the governance of Lagos is in the area of transportation. And we intend to give federal support. First, the long-term project that has been idle for an international airport in Lekki. We intend to bring that to life within the next 4 years. We also intend to bring about a revolutionary change in water transportation in Lagos and give adequate support in that realm. The 4th mainland bridge, which has been in the pipeline for so long, would also receive federal support so they can materialize and go a long way in solving a significant measure of the transportation problem in Lagos. Lagos, for instance, by every standard, needs a metro system of transportation. But that is non-existent as we speak today. Within 4 years from today, that is part of the revolutionary change we would have seen in Lagos transportation. Also in power, I have been credited to have the best manifesto in defense and intelligence, the best manifesto for power, and the best manifesto for the empowerment of Nigerian youths and Nigerian women.
So how is this plan for Lagos State likely to permeate into other parts of Nigeria. How do you intend to? I mean, what is the connection?
I am from the South. So that shows you the special plan we have for Lagos within our economic master plan has nothing to do with nepotism or ethnic or tribal sentiments. When Lagos prospers, Nigeria prospers to a significant extent. When the economy of Lagos suffers, it affects the Nigerian economy. And we have seen it clearly that what would take Lagos 12 years to achieve by reason of the resources available to them. When we give them, Lagos State, the kind of support we have mapped out, what would have taken Lagos 12 years will be realized in the next 4 years.
Okay.
And that will also have a very, very positive bandwagon effect on other states and regions of Nigeria. And I believe you understand that when we're talking about Lagos, I mentioned it as part of our economic master plan. And I am the only presidential candidate that has a vision for this special plan for Lagos within the economic master plan.
I was wondering if you also have such a plan for Abuja, because some of the problems you've outlined as being faced by Lagosians are gradually being faced by residents of Abuja too. And if care is not taken, it will also snowball into what is happening in Lagos. So being the federal capital territory, I expected that you also have a special plan for Abuja. Do you have?
We have that as well. One of the challenges with Nigeria is misgovernance, and that comes primarily from issues of nepotism and the rest of it. By the time we keep on putting the wrong people in charge of key sectors of the management of the FCT, all they are concerned about is how to enrich themselves and empower siblings and friends. But all that will change with the government of President David Esosa Ize-Iyamu that starts off 2019. Okay. For the first time, we are going to have Nigerians having the opportunity to serve based on their skills and expertise. And one interesting thing that Nigerians should look forward to is that we'll be having for the first time a truly detribalized Nigerian president. We'll have a president for the first time who has a 20-year record of leadership that has given women 50% opportunity to serve in leadership in his previous area of calling. Okay. It's something that is rare. It's something that's never been seen anywhere. In fact, some women groups in the country recently carried out a private investigation of the top 10 presidential candidates. And what their conclusion was that the other presidential candidates are all promising that when they get into power, they are going to give women 35 to 40%, some 50% opportunity to serve. But what they found out was that the other 9 on their list of top 10 candidates, the other 9 all had to do with promises. But there was a presidential candidate, and there is a presidential candidate that has a track record of 20 for working, giving women opportunity, equal opportunity to serve in leadership position for the past 20 years. Okay, David Esosa Ize-Iyamu offers Nigerian women and Nigerian youth the best opportunity for inclusion in governance among all presidential candidates in 2019.
Yes, there is a certain ecclesiastical certainty about what you've been saying. And what will imagine that you will also bring that to bear in terms of infrastructural development.
Yes.
You'll agree that Nigeria is in dire need of infrastructural development.
Yes.
And one will imagine that BNPP, Better Nigeria Progressive Party, has a blueprint to develop infrastructure.
Yeah.
So what is that blueprint?
It's part of our blueprint. We have, number 8 on our blueprint, we have infrastructural development, transformation of the country, with special focus on transportation and housing. But I must talk about the third on our blueprint, which has to do with power. It's unfortunate that the failed promises of this old brigade of politicians makes it very difficult for the average Nigerian today to believe that we can actually have 24/7 power supply. We have long done our investigations, and what we found out, for instance, we have 774 local government areas in Nigeria. It will interest you to know that more than half of that number do not need more than 10 megawatts of power generation. And the good news about it, from our findings, we discovered that we can have a revolutionary solution in conjunction with what exists today and the current master plan. What do I mean? We have an intention to kick off our plan for power with the provision of mini power plants in at least 400 LGAs in Nigeria. And there is a successful model. In Canaan Land, which is the headquarters of the Winners Church in Ota, it will interest you that in this same Nigeria, from 1999 to date, 20 years running, they've enjoyed consistent 24/7 power supply. And in Canaan Land, they don't even use 10 megawatts. The Redeemed Christian of God at their headquarters also went in this direction some few years back, and it's also another case study of the successful model. In fact, we've had personal discussions with the team that installed the power plant in Canaan Land and at the Redemption Camp. And we found out that this can be done in as many local government areas within a space of 8 months. So Nigerians are in for a pleasant surprise. And you know, the more we discovered all of these things, the more we felt so pained in our hearts that the Nigerian problem is truly a leadership problem. We are fortunate to be governed by men who do not have a vision, and men, even when they find a good vision, they put it aside because they don't have the interest of the people and the nation at heart. All that will change with the coming in of President David Esosa Ize-Iyamu from May 29th, 2019.
You talked about leadership problem. I'm wondering how Nigerians will trust you, because this is how people come to them. In fact, in the past 20 years, we've been hearing this. Every other person come to them to promise. They have this, they have this. Now, I don't know how much of you Nigerians are aware of. Because nationally, I don't think you have held any political office. How do we believe that you'll be different from the leaders we have had, especially in the last 20 years?
The most tempting sector, the most tempting area of calling is where you deal directly with the forces, the strongest forces behind temptations. And that is in the area of spiritual ministry. And I, by the grace of God, have an excellent testimony. I've been privileged to run a ministry as a general overseer for 21 years, scandal-free. And I have an excellent testimony from all leaders of the faith within our nation and as many outside this nation who are privileged to have come in contact with me over the years. When you are talking of people of integrity, that is where I come in. And I believe that the present government, because they've also digged very deep to find out anything about the strong contenders in the presidential race. And from the feelers I have, of course, they found nothing. And the conclusion is that if this man, with his 17 million Pentecostal youths supporting him, with the other sets of Nigerians supporting him, the women, I have a vice president from Kano. She's just 40 years old, and she's well known in Kano. I'm very popular with the young people in Kano and some northern parts, some northern states of the Federation. And their position is that if this man springs a surprise, they will rather hand over to him than hand over to some other presidential candidate whose only obsession is to take over, or rather to sell and privatize the NNPC.
All right, well, let's take a short break now. We've been talking with the presidential candidate of the BNPP, Better Nigeria Progressive Party, Reverend David Esosa Ize-Iyamu. We'll be feeding a lot more questions with him when we return from this break, and of course, we'll also be taking your questions on our Twitter handle at AIT Face the Nation. Stay with us.
Fresh season of electioneering in Nigeria. Politics is thick in the air. The political gladiators are back on the soapbox with numerous campaign promises. But what are the plans to implement their policy documents? This is the big question for the candidates. Africa Independent Television, AIT, hosts all the party's standard bearers in the 2019 presidential election on a Know Your Right Candidates program. Face the Nation every day of the week. The presidential candidates in an alphabetical order will feature on the program from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Face the Nation, defining the issues.
Welcome back. It's Face the Nation, and Reverend David Esosa Ize-Iyamu of BNPP is our guest. Now, we have Nigerians who have been sending in questions and comments. This first one is coming from Robinson Smith, who says, what are your plans for the educational system in Nigeria if you are elected president?
Education is one very critical area of concern for us. We are very committed to human capital development, so education, healthcare are two principal sectors in that realm. And we believe that starting from the primary level of education, every Nigerian child should compulsorily be in school. And we intend to enforce this as we come into power. We intend to make...
Through legislation or what?
Yeah, partially through legislation and also through providing, the conducive atmosphere for that to happen. We believe that our dream and our plan is that every Nigerian child in the years ahead of us, of age 10, must be able to read and write, irrespective of the kind of school he or she went to. So we have an excellent plan when it comes to the primary sector. And we've also seen that Nigerian families are going through a lot of burden, even in places like Lagos, funding the education of their children. So we intend to take off that burden significantly by turning around the public sector of our primary education all over the Federation. Like what has happened in Rwanda, we are going to turn the situation here within a year or two, and very soon you are going to see Nigerian parents actually prefer to even send their children, their wards, to a public primary school than a private primary school because of the improved standard and the absolutely affordable fees that would still need to be paid.
Okay.
So you are not planning on introducing free compulsory primary education, but an affordable primary education, and you think that will bring the children to school?
Yes, it will certainly bring the children to school. We know education is so fundamental for the growth and development of any nation. Education is so fundamental. So we intend to, and it's so sad. And when you see, sometimes when you see a Nigerian graduate and you find a Nigerian graduate who can't even read or write well, the problem started from the primary. Because we still have some very good primary schools today. And any graduate of that primary school reads and writes very well. So we want to get it right at that level, make it extremely affordable and accessible to every Nigerian child and family. We are also going to bring about a major turnaround at the secondary level. And then for the universities, we need to have a drastic change in the setup and content of our curriculum. A situation where a Nigerian graduate comes out and cannot really face what is required today in the marketplace. All that has to be corrected through a change within the curriculum, even at the university level. We want to really impute the entrepreneurial spirit in every Nigerian undergraduate. There is indeed going to be, and the good news from what we found out is that these things are achievable within a record space, a very short space of time. I am not one of those presidential candidates or incumbents who will tell you that they need 8 years to fix Nigeria.
Please, this your education plan, does it also include the 10.3 million Nigerian out-of-school children? Does it include them? And if it does, how do you intend to bring them back to school?
We will bring them back to school. We also found out to be quite, sometimes when Nigerian politicians, we also come up with our manifestos and our blueprints. Some Nigerians in the civil service, they are not too happy because the quality of the manifestos and blueprints of some of the parties and candidates are not even as good as what has long been presented to current and past governments. One of the problems has always been the problem of implementation. Implementation. That is where we are going to see a drastic and positive change from the year 2019.
Specifically,
we intend to bring back to school all our children of school age. We will make it attractive for them to come back. And part of the plan, the process of achieving this, from what we worked out, we will also take care of some of the unemployment issues we have today. Because we are going to bring in some of our graduates to come in and fill up the gap that would open up with this escalated program we have to meet up with these children who were out of school but who are now being brought back to school.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Nigerians are in for a very good deal in terms of, quality and affordable education. And every Nigerian child, most sincerely, actually deserves this. Because one of the very interesting things we found out also is that there is so much financial leakage. So much financial leakage in the country. And it pains us, when we see the Nigerian government choosing to increase tax, even when they are aware that some very few Nigerians, and sometimes from our findings, some of them are not even politicians. Some few Nigerians are consistently draining this nation of billions of dollars every year. We intend to block these avenues of financial leakages, and the resources that will be available from this effort we will deploy in some critical sectors like education and economic empowerment of young Nigerians, especially between the age of 18 to 50.
Yeah, I'm interested in the plans you have for the oil and gas sector, because you made reference to a presidential candidate that is promising to sell the NNPC.
Yeah.
And it's a very complex sector.
Yes.
Because as we speak today, nobody knows the number of the liters, for example, of PMS that are being produced in this country or are being imported.
With due respect, I want to object to what you just said. The government is aware. The government is aware. The government is aware.
Okay,
But the government is part of the corruption. Very much part of the corruption. And it is with the support of the government that the corruption is thriving, even in the oil sector. We intend to bring about a massive cleansing in that sector. However, we have discovered that beyond oil, Nigeria is also tremendously blessed. So much wealth, untapped wealth for this nation in mineral deposits. Some states have as much as 20, and out of the 20, about 15 or so of commercial value. So we intend to move our economy away from a mono-source economy to a multi-source economy.
Yeah, but can you give us an insight into the nature of cleansing you would do at NNPC? Because if you are not going to sell
not just in the NNPC, but in the entire oil sector in Nigeria, is one sector where there is so much vagueness, there is so much ambivalence that Nigerians do not know how that sector operates. Even though you say government knows, but most Nigerians, in fact, majority of Nigerians do not know how that sector operates. For instance, the whole question of subsidy has become very controversial from one government to another. And nobody seems to be telling Nigerians the entire truth about how that regime operates.
Well, you are right on point. When I started this journey, we had meetings with very prominent people currently in authority and some previously in the corridors of power. They know I am in this race for real. They know my reputation in the last 20 years. And so they were very much willing to open up and let me know the real problems of Nigeria, including the oil sector. But I put this in at this point. There are about 4 major issues that we would tackle within our first 100 days in office. It will shake this nation.
And what are those?
I would not mention them. That's where I was going to. I wouldn't mention them because Nigerians who are pained, who have all the information in this area, have opened our eyes to see what is going on. And what they told us is that as God gives you the opportunity together with the collective votes of Nigerians to become president, this is what is going on. This is what to do. So we have four major points on our timeline for governance. 100 days in office, 1 year in office, 2 years in office, and 4 years in office. Within 100 days in office, we already have mapped out certain policy decisions that we are going to take that will put Nigerian citizens jubilating on the streets as a result of the changes that will happen as a result of those intended policy
And you don't think
decisions.
Nigerians deserve to know at this point in time? Might just be one of the things that will convince them to put you in office.
I know, it's like you are asking me to share some of our solutions on security. Like I told you, I have the best plan of all presidential candidates on security. That this been acknowledged, and for me, they are no longer talking about how. What I now tell people is when, and I can tell you that the insurgency in the northeast will be dealt with within 6 months of the presidency of David Esosa Ize-Iyamu.
Reverend,
6 months, all the killings in Borno, in Yobe, that has been running from the time of President Jonathan on to this point, that has now become a cash cow for some people in the country. We have found out that when certain steps are taken, it will be dealt with within a maximum space of 6 months. The killings going on in some other parts of the country, the Middle Belt today, Taraba, Benue, currently in Zamfara, those, in fact, by the time we do what we have planned to do in tackling security in the northeast, before we'll come to places like Zamfara State, the bandits would have long relocated back to where they came from.
well, you're denying the electorate the opportunity to have great insight into your manifesto.
I'm privileged to have served in leadership, and you'd also understand that wisdom demands that certain intentions. If I'm not speaking to impress the Nigerian people. We already have overwhelming clues that I am the most favored candidate today, capable of springing a major surprise in the presidential election.
Well,
what you have just granted me today is being commended everywhere on the platform of AIT. I was billed to speak on another very prominent platform, and it was unknown to some major players in the political terrain. The moment the news went round that I was going to speak live on that program, 2 hours to the time it was cancelled. It was postponed to the next day. It never saw the light of day. So what the AIT has just made possible for Nigerians to have, a one-on-one, face the nation encounter with this man, David Esosa Ize-Iyamu, is being commended everywhere. And I also want to personally commend you for this.
Yes, the major contender. You've alluded to the issue of leakages.
Yes.
Yes, and cost of governance.
Yes.
It's rather too high in our country. And this time we will like you to be very plain, telling us how you intend to plug those leakages. We already have the TSA. We already have BVN. And those are instruments that are working by and large. So what other measures will you be adopting to check the issue of leakages and also to cut down on the
cost of governance?
Yeah, in the time of one of the solutions to good governance in our nation is that the presidency must give full presidential support to other players in governance, such as the MDAs. Nigerians till today celebrate the success of the late Professor Dora Akinyuli while she was at NAFDAC. And one reason why she succeeded was because the president at that time gave her all the support to do what needed to be done. Coming back to what we are talking about, there's a lot of frustration in these agencies that have been put in place to serve as check and balances, and also to expose and curb corrupt practices in some of the revenue generating avenues in the country. And their pain and frustration for those sincere Nigerians on those platforms is that They do the needful, but powers from above, influence from above, frustrate their patriotic intentions for the nation. So quite a number of them are looking forward to the real change. And the real change certainly is going to come from a new breed presidential candidate who is not bombarding Nigerians with just promises, but has a record of integrity, a record, you know, of honesty, and proper accountable management of resources under his care. So one of the major ways we are going to fund our programs is through the blocking of financial leakages. We've already done our research there, you know, and I told you, like, there are some key areas like our master plan for corruption, to deal with corruption, and our master plan for security. But what I can give you for security, we can give you the timeline. How we are going to go about it, even security experts will understand what I'm telling you. They don't expect me to be talking about this.
Now, closely related to that is the issue of Nigeria's external debt. It's growing by the day.
Yeah.
Do you believe in borrowing in the first instance? Do you believe that Nigeria should borrow for whatever it's using it for? If you do, how do you intend to regulate these growing external debts?
I must sincerely let you know that what is playing out today is the expression of a very wicked and mean approach to governance by a particular political party, the APC. We have seen them do it at the state level. They've done it in Lagos. They've done it in Edo State, where a state that wasn't indebted or was indebted to a very minimal level of exposure, the government comes into place. What they do is that they just go out and take incredible sums of money as loans, and then to buy the people, they invest a fraction of it on some public works, like dualizing some major roads in town. And when those roads are done, people feel that the government has performed. But when the governor is out of power, you will discover that he has left a huge pile of debt on that state, which will not be wiped out except by God's intervention in the very near future. That is the same thing that has played out at the federal level. Of course, any well-informed economic expert will tell you that there are instances and times where it is even more expedient to actually take a loan to achieve something, to kickstart something. But in the Nigerian context, a situation where between 2013, from $46 billion, in 2018, you are talking of $73 billion. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. So there's a lot of insincerity, and you can feel the pains of Nigerians everywhere. Even when you are talking, I could feel your pain. So obviously, these are areas that these are what some people call very mature ways of corruption, which we will curb when we come into power May 29 this year. Okay,
Reverend, our time is almost up. We'd like you to give your very last word to Nigerians, your message to Nigerians, because you won't have this opportunity again of talking to Nigerians before the February 16 elections, at least not on this platform.
My beloved country, Nigeria, 2019 offers us a lifetime opportunity to put an end to the consistent story of woes in this nation, infrastructural decays, and endless monumental scales of corruption, and have for the first time good governance at the federal level, and security. What class